Life after dark. The night deepens over Mesopotamia. The moon hangs high above the city of Ur. Most of the ancient world sleeps beneath darkness, but Ur does not. The city still moves, still breathes, still works. Torchlight flickers across rooftops. Smoke drifts slowly into the cold night air. Far away, temple fires continue burning atop the ziggurat. The city glows beneath them like a living organism, restless, ancient, hungry, or never truly slept. Through narrow alleyways, street vendors remain awake beside small fires. A woman cooks flatbread over hot stones. Nearby, tired laborers sit silently drinking beer from clay cups. Nobody speaks much. Only exhaustion fills the air. The city feels quieter now, but not peaceful. Somewhere in the distance, a man shouts angrily. A dog begins barking. Then silence returns. The smell changes immediately. Mud, water, rotting reeds, sweat. Canal workers continue laboring beneath torchlight. Their legs sink into thick mud as they clear debris from irrigation channels. Mosquitoes swarm around stagnant water. One worker wipes insects from his neck before continuing again. The work never stops, because the canals can never stop. If the water stops flowing, the city dies. A worker pushes a wooden shovel deep into the mud. Another drags reeds from the canal wall. A younger boy struggles to carry heavy baskets filled with wet dirt. His body trembles from exhaustion, but he keeps moving. Everyone keeps moving. The camera slowly follows one worker walking alone beside the canal after finishing his shift. Mud covers his clothing. His hands are cracked and bleeding. The distant ziggurat glows behind him, beautiful, untouchable. He stares at it silently for several seconds, then lowers his eyes and continues walking home. The workers who kept Ur alive rarely shared in its wealth. A cold wind blows across the battlements. Guards patrol slowly beneath moonlight. Bronze-tipped spears reflect the fire beside them. The desert, beyond the city, remains completely black, empty, silent, endless. One guard pauses beside the wall and stares outward. His face is tired, older than it should be. At night, every shadow looked dangerous. The guard hears movement in the distance. He grips his spear tightly. Another guard joins him. Both men stare into the darkness. Nothing appears, only wind, but neither man relaxes. Fear has become part of life in Ur. Families crowd together inside small mud brick homes. Children sleep beneath woven blankets. An old woman quietly adds fuel to a dying fire. A baby cries softly, somewhere in the darkness. The city may look magnificent from above, but most people live close to survival. Nearby, two gamblers argue quietly over carved game pieces. A woman carrying water walks quickly past them without making eye contact. Everyone seems cautious, suspicious, as though danger could emerge from any shadow. Night changed the behavior of the city. The wealthy districts remain alive with music and celebration. The poorer districts grow tense and unpredictable. Drums echo against the walls. Men laugh loudly beside low wooden tables. Clay cups slam against the surface. A musician plays a stringed instrument beside the fire. For a moment, the atmosphere feels joyful. Then suddenly, a fight begins. One man shoves another violently. A cup shatters against the floor. People immediately back away. The argument grows louder, more dangerous. One man reaches for a blade. The crowd scatters instantly. Guards rush into the building. The music stops. The silence afterward feels heavy. Even celebration in could turn violent without warning. The line between entertainment and danger was thin. Young people gather beside food stalls illuminated by oil lamps. Some laugh. Some flirt. Some dance beside musicians. To them, the city still feels exciting, alive, powerful. The younger generation sees opportunity inside adventure, movement, trade, freedom. But beneath that excitement, fear still exists. A young woman walks carefully beside two friends through a crowded alleyway. She glances behind her repeatedly. We never walk alone after dark. Men watch silently from nearby corners. The city constantly observes itself. Nobody fully trusts the darkness. The camera slowly rises toward the temple district again. Priests continue performing rituals atop the ziggurat. Sacred fires burn against the night sky. Smoke drifts upward toward the moon. The city below grows smaller beneath the monument. To the people of the gods never slept either. Rows of clay tablets fill wooden shelves. Scribes continue working despite the late hour. One records grain shipments. Another tracks labor assignments. Another calculates taxes owed to the temple. The scratching sound of reeds against clay fills the room endlessly. The bureaucracy of never rests. Everything is counted, everything recorded, everything controlled. His eyes are exhausted, but his hands continue moving carefully across the tablet. Outside the room, laborers continue carrying grain into storage buildings. Inside, scribes transform labor into numbers. The city survived through organization, through systems, through control. The atmosphere changes again. Many stalls are now closed. The streets feel emptier, more dangerous. Torches burn lower. Smoke drifts close to the ground. A lone traveler walks carefully through the district, clutching a small bag beneath his robe. He hears footsteps behind him. The footsteps stop when he turns around. Nobody visible, only darkness. He continues walking faster. The camera lingers behind him. The tension grows slowly. Then suddenly, a figure darts from the shadows. The traveler shouts. The bag disappears. The thief vanishes into narrow alleyways before guards can react. The traveler collapses against the wall, breathing heavily. Nobody helps him. People avoid eye contact and continue moving. Crime has become ordinary here. The city absorbs suffering quietly. Glows beneath the moonlight, beautiful from a distance, chaotic up close. The contrast feels overwhelming. The ziggurat still dominates the skyline, watching silently above the city. The camera slowly circles the monument. Its massive stairways disappear into darkness. Thousands of people continue moving beneath it, like insects beneath a mountain. Represented one of humanity's greatest achievements. But it also revealed something darker. The larger the city became, the easier it became for people to disappear inside it. The music slows. Across the city, a wealthy noble falls asleep beside silk cushions. A canal worker collapses beside muddy tools. A guard patrols empty streets alone. A mother comforts a hungry child. A priest lights another sacred fire. A thief disappears into darkness. A scribe records more numbers onto wet clay. All beneath the same moon. All beneath the same city. All trapped inside the same system. The camera slowly rises higher above The city becomes smaller beneath the darkness of Mesopotamia. Only the fires remain visible. Tiny lights surrounded by endless black desert. Beautiful, ancient, fragile, and somewhere beneath all the torchlight and ceremony, the pressure inside the city continues growing. The fall of a great city. The night over begins to feel colder. The wind moves differently across the city. Slower, heavier. The same torchlit streets still glow beneath the moon. The same temple fires still burn atop the ziggurat. The same markets remain crowded with merchants and laborers. But something has changed. Something invisible. The camera slowly rises above the city walls. Beyond the glow of the land begins to darken. The canals appear thinner now, shallower. The fields surrounding the city no longer look endless and green. Patches of dry earth interrupt the farmland. Cracks spread through the soil. The camera glides low across irrigation canals. The water moves weakly through the channels. Mud clings to the sides. Dead reeds collect near broken gates. Workers struggle to clear debris beneath the heat of the day. Their movements feel slower than before, more exhausted. Even the greatest cities are fragile. The music becomes quieter, more haunting. The camera slowly moves through farmland outside A farmer kneels beside dry soil. He picks up a handful of dirt. White salt stains cover the ground beneath him. The earth itself is beginning to die. For generations, the people of believed the rivers would protect them forever. But the land was changing. The camera follows water, flowing through irrigation canals. The water evaporates beneath the burning Mesopotamian heat. Salt remains behind, year after year, harvest after harvest. The soil weakens slowly, almost invisibly, until the damage can no longer be ignored. Over-irrigation poisoned the land. Fields that once fed thousands began producing less grain. The camera cuts to workers harvesting barley. The harvest is smaller now. The baskets look lighter. The workers say nothing, but everyone notices. The city still demands taxes. The temples still demand grain. The rulers still demand labor. But the land can no longer provide what it once did. The pressure inside the city grows heavier. The camera moves through crowded market streets. Arguments break out more frequently now. Food prices rise. Merchants speak in whispers. Guards appear in larger numbers. The atmosphere feels tense, suspicious, afraid. When resources become scarce, fear spreads quickly. The camera cuts to temple storage buildings. Scribes carefully count grain supplies. Officials inspect deliveries with growing concern. One storage room stands partially empty. A temple official closes the door quickly before nearby workers notice. The illusion of stability must continue, but the cracks are spreading. The camera rises toward the ziggurat again. Priests continue lighting sacred fires beneath the moon. The rituals never stop. The ceremonies continue exactly as before, because the city cannot allow itself to appear weak. To the people of the gods still had to appear in control. But below the temple district, ordinary people begin losing faith. The camera follows exhausted workers sitting beside narrow alleyways. Their meals grow smaller, their faces thinner. One man quietly shakes his head while staring at an empty grain bowl. A mother divides a tiny portion of food between two children. She pretends not to be hungry. The children eat first. The city still glows beautifully at night, but survival is becoming harder. The camera slowly moves toward the outer districts. More homes appear abandoned now. Doors hang open. Dust gathers inside empty rooms. Families have already begun leaving. Some move north, searching for farmland. Others disappear into smaller settlements beyond the city. No one knows what waits for them there, But staying inside no longer guarantees safety. The city that once attracted people from across Mesopotamia slowly began losing them. The wind grows louder. The camera moves across drying canals beneath moonlight. Broken boats rest in shallow mud. Dead fish float near stagnant water. The silence feels unnatural. The same canals that once carried life into the city now feel lifeless themselves. The camera cuts sharply to the palace district. Guards patrol more aggressively now. Bronze weapons gleam beneath torchlight. Citizens lower their eyes when officials pass. The rulers of understand the danger growing inside the city. And power becomes harsher when fear begins to spread. Political instability followed economic decline. The camera glides through a dark courtyard where officials argue quietly beside oil lamps. Voices remain low, urgent, nervous. The city's leadership no longer appears confident. The camera slowly pulls away from the palace. The massive walls of still stand strong. The ziggurat still towers above the skyline. The city still looks magnificent from a distance. But underneath the beauty, the system is weakening. The camera moves through another worker district late at night. A fight breaks out over food. 2 men struggle violently in the street. Nearby families watch silently from doorways. Nobody intervenes. Violence no longer shocks the city. It has become part of daily survival. The pressure inside continued building. The music grows darker. The camera rises above the rooftops once more. The contrast becomes painful now. The temple fires still burn brightly. Nobles still hold banquets behind guarded walls. Musicians still perform beside decorated courtyards. But below them, ordinary citizens grow desperate. The divide between power and survival feels larger than ever. The camera slowly circles the ziggurat. The monument still appears eternal beneath moonlight, massive, unshakable, like it could survive forever. But history already knows the truth. No city lasts forever. The wind blows harder across the summit. Temple fires flicker violently. Smoke twists into the darkness. Far below, the streets of continue moving through another uneasy night. Workers, merchants, guards, priests, children, all still living beneath the illusion that the city can continue forever. But the land beneath them is already failing. The camera slowly transitions forward in time. The city appears quieter now, darker, more abandoned. Canals dry further. Walls begin to crack. The markets shrink. Temple fires burn less brightly. The sounds of celebration disappear. Only wind remains. Years pass silently across the screen. The once great city slowly fades into ruin. The fall of did not happen in a single night. It happened slowly, harvest after harvest, year after year, decision after decision. The camera drifts through abandoned streets beneath moonlight. Dust blows across empty homes. Collapsed rooftops lie buried beneath sand. Broken clay tablets remain scattered beside ruined walls. No music echoes through the city anymore. No crowded markets. No celebration. Only silence. The ziggurat still stands in the distance. Ancient, damaged, lonely. The monument that once symbolized humanity's power now overlooks emptiness. The camera slowly rises above the ruins. Desert surrounds the dead city once again. The same darkness that existed before was built now returns around it. As powerful as became, the desert outlived it. The music becomes slow and emotional. The camera glides above the abandoned city one final time. Moonlight touches broken walls and empty canals. Wind moves softly through ruins that once held thousands of lives. The city that once looked eternal became another forgotten place beneath the sand. But its story never truly disappeared, because cities like still exist today. Different names, different skylines, different empires. But the same patterns remain: wealth beside poverty, beauty beside suffering, power beside fear, progress beside collapse. The camera slowly returns to the ziggurat beneath the moon. The monument stands silently against the darkness. A reminder, a warning. A beautiful city at night is not a lie, but beauty is never the whole truth. Behind every glowing skyline, there are workers, sacrifices, systems, and people history almost forgets. The wind echoes softly across the ruins. A distant horn echoes across the desert. The giant silhouette of the ziggurat stands against a blood-red sky. Before Rome, before Babylon, there was The last light of the sun fades across Mesopotamia. The sky burns orange above the Euphrates River. Warm wind carries dust through endless plains. Canals shine like ribbons of gold cutting through the earth. Far beyond the riverbanks, the desert waits in silence. But beside the water, life explodes across the land. Rises from the horizon. Massive mud-brick walls surround the city. Watchtowers overlook the canals. Smoke drifts upward from thousands of homes packed tightly together. The city never truly rests. Farmers return from the fields before darkness arrives. Oxen pull heavy carts loaded with barley. Goatherds guide restless animals through crowded roads. Fishermen unload fresh catches beside canal docks. Boatmen shout to one another as narrow wooden boats drift through the waterways. Water splashes against stone embankments. Children run barefoot through wet streets. Women carry baskets of bread balanced on their heads. Bronze bells ring from distant temple courtyards. The city grows louder with every passing moment. Stood near the mouth of the Euphrates River in southern Mesopotamia. The rivers gave life to the land. Without them, nothing could survive here. No farms, no trade, no kings, no city. Workers open heavy canal gates outside the walls. Water crashes into irrigation channels carved through dry earth. Mud softens instantly. Barley fields stretch endlessly beneath the evening sky. Farm laborers work quickly before darkness. Some repair broken canal walls using reeds and clay. Others shovel mud away from blocked waterways. Every drop of water matters. The river controls everything. If floods arrive too early, crops die. If rains fail in the north, famine follows. Entire families survive only because the canals continue flowing. Without irrigation, there would be no city. Yet did more than survive. It became powerful, very powerful. The markets near the center of the city overflow with goods from distant lands. Merchants crowd the streets beneath hanging oil lamps. Copper tools lie beside carved ivory boxes. Silver jewelry glimmers beside woven wool garments dyed bright red and blue. Rare lapis lazuli stones shine like pieces of the night sky. Incense smoke curls into the air. Spices from distant regions fill the streets with unfamiliar scents. Scribes sit cross-legged beside wooden tables. Clay tablets cover the ground around them. Every trade is recorded. Every debt remembered. Every shipment counted. Trade transformed into one of the richest cities in the ancient world. Caravans traveled for months to reach its gates. Boats crossed dangerous waters, carrying timber, metals, and precious stones. Foreign languages echo through the markets, different clothing, different gods, different stories. A dusty traveler pushes through the crowd beside his exhausted donkey. Sweat covers his face. His sandals are torn from the road. A local trader studies him carefully. I came from the north. The roads are dangerous now. Danger follows wealth. The traveler glances toward the towering ziggurat above the city. Even here, danger feels close. Rumors spread faster than caravans. Bandits attack merchants along isolated roads. City-states prepare for war over water and trade routes. Kings demand higher taxes. Soldiers disappear into distant battles and never return. But tonight, the streets of still shine with life. Darkness settles fully across the city. Torches ignite beside homes and temples. Orange firelight reflects across wet stone streets. Music rises from crowded courtyards. Drums echo between narrow alleyways. Lyres play soft melodies beneath the stars. Dancers move beside flickering lamps while families gather for evening meals. The smell of roasted meat drifts through the air. Children chase each other between homes. Old men sit near doorways, sharing stories about floods, kings, and omens seen in the sky. Dogs bark somewhere in the distance. A baby cries from inside a crowded house. Far above the streets, priests climb the giant staircase of the ziggurat. The enormous structure dominates the city like a sacred mountain. Its shadow stretches across rooftops, even at night. Workers carry burning fire basins upward, step by step. White-robed priests follow behind them in silence. Below, ordinary people stop what they are doing to watch. Some bow their heads. Others whisper prayers beneath their breath. No building on earth looks like this. The ziggurat of was one of the tallest structures humanity had ever built. Layer upon layer rises toward the heavens. Massive staircases climb into darkness. The upper temple glows with sacred fire. It was designed to inspire awe and obedience. To the people of the gods lived above them, watching, judging, controlling the fate of every person below. Storms, floods, disease, harvests, victory in war. Everything belonged to the gods, and the priests spoke for them. Wind sweeps across the upper terraces. Below, the city stretches endlessly beside the Euphrates. Thousands of tiny lights flicker in the darkness. The river glows silver beneath the moon. Smoke rises slowly from cooking fires. At the summit, priests place flames into giant ceremonial bowls. Fire erupts against the black sky. The entire city seems to pause beneath the glow. To the people below, the ziggurat connected heaven and earth. For a moment, appears unstoppable, a perfect city beside the river. Rich, powerful, alive. But beneath the beauty, cracks are already forming. Water levels shift unpredictably. Trade routes become more dangerous every year. Nearby kingdoms grow jealous of wealth. Inside the palace, officials argue over taxes and grain supplies. In hidden corners of the city, whispers spread about famine in distant lands. And beyond the horizon, armies are already moving. Chapter 2, The Gods Above the City. Runtime, 1828-0. Temple bells echo softly. Priests prepare offerings. Oil lamps illuminate carved statues. Incense smoke fills dark temple chambers. Religion shaped every part of life in The city belonged to the moon god Nanna. Close-up of priest lighting sacred flame. The gods watch everything. If the rituals stop, chaos follows. The camera follows temple servants carrying grain baskets. The temples controlled enormous wealth. They owned land. They stored grain. They employed workers. They shaped politics. Wide shot of temple complex at night. The temples were not only religious centers. They were engines of power. A young boy watches priests from below. To ordinary citizens, these ceremonies must have felt mysterious, sacred, and terrifying. Priests chant beneath torchlight. Drums echo. The moon appears above the ziggurat. The rulers of understood something important. If people believe the gods support your authority, they are less likely to challenge it. The camera cuts to laborers staring upward while hauling bricks. The city taught people their place. The gods above, the rulers beneath them, and the workers below everyone else. Chapter 3. The people of Morning fades into night. The city remains crowded. A woman prepares bread beside a small oven. A child sleeps nearby. Behind the monuments and temples, ordinary people struggled to survive. Introduce AMA, market vendor. She arranges bread beneath hanging lamps. Tourists always stare at the ziggurat first. She smiles. They think the city belongs to kings and priests. She hands bread to a customer. But people like us keep it alive. He walks beside workers carrying mud bricks. His shoulders are scarred from years of labor. We build walls, temples, roads, storage houses, and then we sleep beside them. The camera shows crowded worker housing, families packed into small rooms, sweat, dust, smoke. Most citizens of did not live in luxury. Life was hard. Food could disappear after a poor harvest. Disease spread easily through crowded streets, and labor never truly ended. Cut to canal workers, knee-deep in mud. The city depended on constant maintenance. Canals had to be cleaned. Fields had to be irrigated. Walls had to be repaired. Everything required labor. Close-up of blistered hands. And yet, from a distance, still looked magnificent. Chapter 4. The Shadows of Power. The final light of sunset disappears behind the Mesopotamian horizon. Night fully takes control of the city. Glows beneath thousands of torches. The ziggurat burns with sacred fire high above the rooftops. Music drifts through wealthy districts. Laughter echoes from open courtyards. From a distance, the city still looks magnificent. But deeper inside the streets of another reality begins to emerge. The roads become narrower, darker, moodier. The air feels heavier. Smoke hangs between the buildings. Water drips slowly through drainage channels beside the streets. Dogs search through piles of discarded waste. A drunk merchant stumbles through the alley before disappearing into darkness. The city's beauty begins to crack. Was one of the richest cities in the ancient world. Temple fires illuminate massive storage buildings. Guards patrol beside palace walls. Merchants continue arriving through the gates, carrying expensive goods from distant lands. Wealth flowed into the city from every direction. Grain, copper, silver, wool, rare stones, luxury goods. But wealth never spreads evenly. The music becomes darker. Servants pour beer into decorated cups. Roasted meat covers long wooden tables. Musicians play beside flickering oil lamps. Jewelry sparkles beneath firelight. The guests laugh loudly, comfortably, safely. Every surface reflects wealth. Painted walls, bronze decorations, imported fabrics, perfumed oils burning beside the tables. Outside the courtyard, servants wait silently in darkness. One servant lowers his eyes while holding an empty tray. Another cleans spilled beer from the floor. Neither speaks. The guests barely notice them. The upper classes of lived differently from everyone else. The camera cuts suddenly. A cramped worker district appears. The contrast is immediate. Small mud brick homes press tightly together. Children sleep beside cooking fires. Families crowd into tiny rooms with almost no space to move. The air is thick with smoke and heat. An exhausted woman stirs thin barley soup inside a cracked clay pot. Beside her, a man rubs his injured shoulder after carrying bricks all day. Nobody speaks. Only the sound of distant temple drums fills the silence. The city looked powerful from above, but most people lived close to survival. The camera slowly moves through the district. A child coughs beneath a woven blanket. An old man sleeps against a wall beside broken tools. Two workers quietly divide a small loaf of bread. One gives the larger piece to the younger boy beside him. The city's greatness depends on people like them, but history rarely remembers their names. The camera drifts back toward the city center. The streets become crowded again. Torches flicker beside market stalls. Night merchants continue selling food and beer. Travelers move carefully through the crowds. Guards stand beside intersections, watching everything. As became richer, crime followed wealth. The atmosphere shifts immediately. The music grows tense. The camera follows a nervous traveler moving through the market district. He clutches a small leather pouch tightly beneath his cloak. Two young thieves watch him from the shadows. The traveler stops beside a food stall. For only a moment, he looks away. One thief moves silently through the crowd. Fast, precise. The pouch disappears. By the time the traveler notices, the thieves are already gone. The crowd keeps moving. Nobody reacts. The traveler shouts angrily, but the city swallows the sound instantly. Night in could be dangerous. The camera moves deeper into the alleyways. The streets narrow further. Torchlight barely reaches the ground. Water drips slowly from rooftops. A wounded man leans against a wall, clutching his side. Nearby, a woman quietly warns another traveler, "Stay near the main roads after dark." The traveler nods nervously. Farther ahead, guards interrogate a merchant beside the street. Bronze weapons reflect firelight. The atmosphere feels tense, suspicious, controlled. Fear existed beside prosperity. Their sandals strike wet stone as they patrol through the city. One guard pauses beside a dark alley. He stares into the shadows for several seconds. His hand tightens around his spear. Nothing moves. But he does not relax. Even the guards seem uneasy. The camera slowly rises toward the ziggurat once again. The sacred fires continue burning above the city. Priests perform rituals beneath the moonlight. Smoke rises toward the stars. To the people below, the gods watched everything. Working beneath oil lamps, rows of clay tablets surround them. One scribe carefully presses symbols into wet clay. Another counts grain deliveries. Another records labor assignments. The room is silent, except for scratching reeds and crackling fire. The temples controlled more than religion. They controlled information. The camera glides across endless shelves of clay tablets. Taxes, trade, land ownership, harvest records, labor quotas. Everything recorded, everything tracked. A farmer stands nervously before a scribe. The scribe studies a clay tablet carefully, then looks upward. The farmer lowers his eyes immediately. Even ordinary conversation feels dangerous here. In Bureaucracy became power. The camera moves through massive grain storage buildings beside the temples. Thousands of sacks fill the dark rooms. Guards stand at every entrance. Temple officials inspect deliveries carefully. Nothing enters the city uncounted. Nothing leaves unnoticed. The city consumed enormous resources to survive. Grain fed the workers. Taxes funded the temples. Labor maintained the canals. And every part of the system depended on control. Mosquitoes swarm around stagnant water. One worker coughs heavily while clearing debris from the canal. Another collapses briefly from exhaustion before continuing again. If the canals fail, the city dies. Everyone understands this, but the people maintaining them remain invisible. Guards patrol the battlements beneath moonlight. Beyond the walls, only darkness exists. The desert stretches endlessly into the horizon. The wind blows dust against the stone. One guard stares outward silently. Another speaks quietly. Raiders attacked a caravan 3 nights ago. The other guard says nothing. His eyes never leave the darkness. The city feared enemies beyond the walls, but sometimes the greatest pressure came from inside. The camera returns to the crowded streets. A fight breaks out beside a beer house. 2 men shove each other violently. A woman screams. Nearby merchants quickly move their goods away from the chaos. Guards rush forward. The crowd scatters instantly. 1 man lies bleeding beside the street. The guards drag the other into darkness. The city returns to normal almost immediately, as though violence has become routine. The camera slowly rises above the rooftops again. Glows beneath the night sky. Beautiful, massive, alive. But the deeper the camera travels into the city, the more fragile everything begins to feel. The wealth, the order, the control, the peace. All great cities create shadows. The music grows slower, more haunting. The camera cuts between wealthy courtyards and exhausted workers. Temple ceremonies and hungry children. Sacred fires and muddy canals. Luxury and survival. Power and fear. All existing together inside the same city. The ziggurat rises above everything. Watching silently, priests stand beside sacred flames, looking down upon the city. Below them, thousands of ordinary people continue moving through the darkness, working, trading, fighting, surviving. The city breathes beneath them like a living machine, ancient, powerful, restless, and somewhere beneath all its beauty, something already feels broken. The moon rises. The city remembers. By the time the moon reaches its highest place above the city feels like a held breath, not silent, never silent, but suspended, as though the streets, canals, rooftops, shrines, taverns, archives, granaries, and sleeping households all wait together for something unnamed to pass through the darkness before dawn arrives. The Euphrates glimmers beyond the city walls like black metal beneath moonlight. Canals carry silver reflections through narrow districts. Palm leaves sway softly above mud brick courtyards. Temple fires burn low atop the terraces of the ziggurat, and over everything the moon god watches. The people of do not see the moon merely as a distant object in the sky. They see presence, authority, witness. Nanna looks down upon contracts and harvests, upon thieves and kings, upon lovers whispering beneath rooftops, and scribes pressing laws into clay. Nothing escapes the moon. Tonight especially, the city feels aware of being observed. Inside the temple archives, The senior scribe Ibisuin remains awake long after younger scribes have drifted into exhausted silence. Only a few lamps still burn. Their flames bend gently whenever warm wind creeps through narrow ventilation slits in the mud brick walls. The archive chambers smell thick with damp clay, old reeds, lamp oil, and dust that has rested undisturbed for generations. Thousands of tablets surround him, lives stacked upon shelves, empires reduced to records. The disputed grain contract rests before him once more, the altered wedge mark still visible beneath flickering light. Tiny, almost meaningless, and yet not meaningless at all. Ibisuin studies it carefully, one final time. His fingers ache badly tonight. The joints swollen from years of work. He remembers being a child when he first entered temple schools. The endless repetition, the endless copying, wedge after wedge after wedge pressed into wet clay until language itself became labor. Most students failed. Some fled. Some returned to farming. Some simply vanished into ordinary lives. But Ibisuin remained, because somewhere deep inside himself, he believed writing mattered, not merely for kings. For civilization itself. Without records, cities forget who owes grain, who owns land, which canals flood, which gods receive offerings, which laws prevent vengeance from swallowing entire streets. Without memory, cities collapse into noise, and memory in is clay. He lifts the stylus carefully, presses the final seal into the disputed contract. The impression settles into wet earth permanently, a legal truth made physical. Then quietly, almost too softly to hear, he whispers, "Let the city be written in clay, not in blood." The words disappear into the archive darkness. No one answers. Yet somehow the room itself seems to absorb them. The old scribe closes his eyes, briefly, because tonight he understands something painful. Records do not merely preserve civilization, they also hide its wounds. How many lies already sleep on these shelves? How many altered numbers? How many erased names? How many truths smoothed flat like disturbed water in a ritual basin? The city survives through memory, but also through selective forgetting. Ibisuin places the completed tablet into a storage chest lined with woven reeds. Other contracts surround it, silent promises sleeping in darkness. Marriage agreements, debt records, temple accounts, property transfers, human lives pressed into mud and stacked like bricks. He lowers the lid slowly. The sound echoes softly through the chamber. For a moment, he imagines the archive breathing, ancient, heavy, alive. Outside the temple complex, the night watch captain Anatom continues his patrol through moonlit streets. He has walked these roads for years, yet tonight, everything feels changed. The broken granary seal still weighs against his thoughts like a hidden stone. The starving thief, the whispered names, the suggestion of corruption within sacred institutions. And above all, the terrible sentence, the city will belong to different gods. And Natum still does not know whether those words describe conspiracy, rebellion, or simple desperation twisted into rumor. But he knows this: silence has become dangerous. The captain moves slowly through the grain district. His spear rests against one shoulder. Bronze scales sewn into his leather vest click softly with each step. Most homes remain dark now. Families sleep beneath woven blankets. Dogs lie curled beside doorways. Oil lamps burn low behind shutters, but never entirely rests. A baker already prepares morning dough inside a clay oven room. A canal worker repairs rope beside torchlight. Temple servants carry fresh water toward upper terraces. Civilization turns, even while sleeping. And Nanna pauses beside the granary gate where he discovered the broken seal earlier. Temple officials repaired it quickly, too quickly. Fresh clay still glistens around the replacement seal. No investigation, no public alarm, no questions, as though powerful hands wished the crack hidden before dawn. The captain touches the repaired seal lightly, still damp. His jaw tightens. Tomorrow, in our story, he will report everything he knows. The missing grain, the bribed thief, the suspicious officials. He understands the danger now more clearly than ever. If corruption reaches deeply enough into temple administration, speaking openly may destroy him again, but remaining silent would destroy something worse. Trust. And cities, without trust, become walls surrounding fear. A breeze moves through the alley, carrying distant incense from the ziggurat. Inatum exhales slowly. For the first time all night, his uncertainty begins hardening into resolve. He may not save perhaps no one can. But truth must survive somewhere. Even if only inside frightened men walking dark streets beneath the moon. The city seems to feel his decision. The tension inside him settles slightly. His footsteps become steadier, more deliberate, as if itself listens to the rhythm of its watchmen. Near the western canals, the tavern finally closes. The last patrons drift home through cooling night air. Reed curtains sway softly over the doorway. Empty beer jars line the walls like sleeping sentries. Inside, brewer Lugal Eden cleans the vats slowly beside fading firelight. The strange barrel still troubles him. Even now, faint foam leaks from beneath the lid. He pretends not to notice. Some things become easier to survive if left unnamed. The serving woman Ninsaga wipes tables nearby in silence. Both are exhausted. Neither speaks much tonight. The brewer finally lowers himself onto a stool with a groan. My bones belong to older men now. The serving woman snorts softly. Your bones belonged to older men 10 years ago. A tired smile passes between them. Outside, footsteps approach. Inatum enters through the reed curtain. The watch captain looks even more worn than usual. Dust clings to his sandals. Moonlight sharpens the gray in his beard. Without asking, Ninsaga pours him one final cup. The tavern nearly empty now. Only embers crackling in the hearth. Only distant canal water whispering outside. The captain drinks slowly. The beer tastes thick and bitter. Barley, smoke, sweat. The taste of labor itself. For a long moment, none of them speak. Then the brewer asks quietly, "Bad night?" Inatum studies the cup. Yes. The brewer nods as though no further explanation is needed. Because workers in old cities learn to recognize heaviness in each other. The serving woman sits beside the doorway, watching moonlight shimmer across the canal outside. "I dreamed again," she murmurs. The captain glances toward her. "The horned figure?" She nods. "Standing beside the well, watching." The brewer mutters dismissively while scrubbing a cup. "Dreams are only dreams. But his voice lacks conviction. The serving woman turns toward Anatom. You ever feel the city listening? The captain answers immediately. Yes. No laughter follows, because everyone there understands exactly what she means. Ancient cities gathered human emotion like storm clouds. Fear, ambition, faith, violence, hope. Millions of footsteps compressed into walls and canals and shrines over generations. Sometimes it felt as though those places remembered. Anatom drains the final cup slowly. The beer settles warmly into his stomach. Necessary, alive, like itself. Before leaving, he places one hand briefly against the brewer's shoulder. Lock the doors early tomorrow. The brewer frowns. Why? The captain hesitates, then simply says, because the city feels close to something. Outside again, the moon hangs directly above the ziggurat now. At its highest point, the sacred hour before descent begins. Across dreams deepen. Inside Nanna's household, the servant woman Sin still cannot sleep. The threatened punishment awaiting morning sits heavily inside her chest. Yet another feeling troubles her more deeply tonight. A strange sense that the city itself has become fragile, as though one hard strike could crack everything hidden beneath its polished rituals. She climbs quietly to the rooftop for air. Warm wind brushes across the city. From here she can see the ziggurat rising above every district. Temple fires flicker near the summit shrine. She wonders how many secrets those walls contain, how many names erased, how many prayers denied, how many truths buried beneath sacred language. Far away, thunder flickers silently beyond the horizon. No rain yet, only warning. Near another district rooftop, the mother from the beginning of our story sits beside her sleeping son. The child finally rests peacefully after uneasy dreams. One arm draped across a broken clay toy. Moonlight washes pale across his face. The mother watches him quietly, then looks toward the ziggurat, toward the immense staircase where the boy swore he saw a figure earlier that night. Did he truly see someone, or merely shadows shaped by fear and moonlight? In cities like certainty rarely survives darkness intact. The mother pulls a woven shawl tighter around her shoulders. The rooftops around her remain mostly still, yet faint life continues everywhere. A baby crying distantly, a guard calling softly from a wall tower, dogs barking near canal bridges, temple hymns drifting faintly through the warm air. The city breathes, always breathing. The mother studies the moon carefully, then speaks so softly only the night itself can hear. The city never really sleeps. She glances down at her child. It only closes its eyes to the sun, so it can remember the night. Her words drift upward beneath the stars, and perhaps somewhere, the moon remembers them too. Far below the sacred terraces, the young priest Lushara remains awake alone beside the ritual basin. The senior priests have long departed. The terrace lies quiet, except for wind and distant bells. Yet he cannot leave. The vision still burns inside his thoughts, the hand closing around the city. He kneels beside the dark water once more. Moonlight reflects softly across the surface. Stillness. Then, almost imperceptibly, ripples move outward from the basin center. No wind touches the water. The young priest freezes. The ripples spread slowly. One circle, then another, as though something beneath the reflection shifted briefly. Lushera's breath catches, but before he can move closer, the surface settles again, perfectly calm. He stares at it for several long moments, then rises and leaves quickly without looking back, because even priests fear certain silences. Elsewhere inside the archive chambers, Ibisuin prepares finally to rest. Before extinguishing the final lamp, he pauses beside the storage chest, holding the disputed tablet. His old fingers brush the wood lightly. So much trust hidden inside fragile clay. He suddenly wonders whether future generations will ever read these records, whether the city itself will survive long enough for memory to matter. Empires always appear eternal while standing. Only afterward do people realize how fragile they were. He extinguishes the lamp. Darkness swallows the archive halls immediately, yet the tablets remain. Silent beneath centuries waiting to come. Outside the walls of dawn still hides beyond the horizon. The marshlands shimmer beneath moonlight. Reeds bend in warm wind. Jackals move through distant grasses. And somewhere beyond human sight, history continues gathering itself. Because the people inside do not know what we know now. They do not know their city will one day fall. That empires will shift. That languages will fade. That the great ziggurat will become ruins beneath open desert skies. They cannot imagine archaeologists brushing dust from their tablets thousands of years later. They only know tonight. Only the breathing city around them. Only the moon above. 5,000 years ago, in the city of the night did not sleep. It remembered. It remembered scribal tablets pressed carefully into wet clay. The bitter taste of barley beer shared between exhausted workers. The cautious footsteps of the night watch beneath sacred walls. The servant's hidden prayer whispered in forbidden language. The mother watching her child dream beneath moonlit rooftops. The vanished priestess spoken of only in frightened fragments. The priest who saw a hand closing around the city. The merchant whose name balanced between loyalty and accusation. The brewer's strange foaming barrel. The cracked foot of the king's statue. Remembered all of it. Even the things powerful men tried to erase. And if you walk the ruins of today, if you touch the worn bricks warmed by desert sun, if you stand beneath the same moon that once watched over kings and laborers and scribes, remember this: the city never truly slept. It only watched. It only remembered. Echoes of the lost city. Only wind. Soft. Ancient. Endless. The sound slowly grows louder. Then, a faint torch flickers in darkness. The camera slowly reveals the ruins of beneath moonlight. Broken walls stretch across the desert. Collapsed homes disappear beneath sand. The great canals are dry now. Silent scars cutting through dead earth. And above everything, the ziggurat still stands, damaged, eroded, but alive enough to haunt the landscape. Thousands of years after its fall, still watches the desert. The camera moves slowly through abandoned streets. Dust drifts across broken stone. Fragments of clay tablets lie buried beneath sand. The remains of doors, collapsed ovens, shattered pottery. Every ruin belonged to someone who once believed this city would last forever. The music becomes slow and emotional. The camera pauses beside an empty doorway. Moonlight touches the floor inside. A child once slept there. A family once ate there. People once laughed there. Now only silence remains. The people of disappeared. but traces of their lives survived. The camera slowly glides across ancient carvings and damaged tablets. Faded cuneiform marks still remain visible, tiny messages surviving thousands of years, tax records, trade agreements, religious prayers, labor assignments, ordinary details of ordinary lives. The rulers of wanted to be remembered forever, but history preserved something else. The workers, the merchants, the farmers, the forgotten people beneath the monuments. The wind moves through the ruins again. The camera rises above the dead city. The full scale of abandoned appears beneath the moon. What was once one of humanity's greatest cities now feels impossibly small against the desert. Fragile, temporary, human. The fall of was not unique. The camera slowly transitions across time. Ancient ruins fade into modern skylines at night. Towering skyscrapers, traffic lights, crowded highways, neon reflections across rivers, massive modern cities glowing in darkness. The visual connection feels immediate. Different civilizations, different technology, same patterns. Civilizations change, but human behavior rarely does. The camera cuts between ancient and modern cities. Workers cleaning streets at night. Security guards standing alone beneath artificial light. Luxury towers beside crowded neighborhoods. Wealth beside exhaustion. Beauty beside inequality. Every great city tells the same story. The music grows deeper. The camera slowly moves through modern nighttime streets. Office towers glow above sleeping workers. Delivery drivers move through empty roads before sunrise. Construction crews labor beneath floodlights. Janitors clean buildings after everyone else goes home. Invisible workers continue holding cities together, just like behind every beautiful skyline. Someone is paying the price to keep it alive. The camera transitions back to ancient Mesopotamia. The ruins of stand beneath moonlight once again. The desert wind echoes through broken walls. For a moment, the city almost feels alive again. The camera imagines the past returning. Torches relight across the streets. Merchants reappear in the markets. Children run through alleyways. Temple fires burn atop the ziggurat. Music echoes through the night. Lives once more, beautiful, powerful, alive. Then, the vision disappears. The city returns to ruins. Silence takes over again. Everything humanity builds eventually fades. The camera slowly circles the ziggurat one final time. Even damaged by time, the monument still feels overwhelming. A reminder of ambition. A reminder of power. A reminder of how badly human beings want permanence. But permanence never comes. Not for kings. Not for empires. Not for cities. The camera rises higher above the ruins. The desert stretches endlessly toward the horizon. The same desert that existed before The same desert that remained after it. Nature outlasted the city. Time outlasted the rulers. Silence outlasted the monuments. The music softens. The atmosphere becomes reflective, almost peaceful. For thousands of years, the people of believed they were living in the center of the world. They could not imagine their city disappearing. But one day, the markets went silent. The canals dried. The temple fires faded. And the desert returned. The camera slowly moves toward the horizon as dawn begins to appear. The first sunlight touches the ruins. Soft gold spreads across broken stone. For the first time in the documentary, the darkness begins to fade. Yet even in ruin, still has something to teach us. The camera cuts between ancient ruins and modern cities waking before sunrise. Workers commuting before dawn. Street sweepers cleaning roads. Lights shutting off in office towers. Morning replacing the night. Civilizations survive because ordinary people keep them alive. Not kings. Not monuments. Not propaganda. People. The music slowly builds toward the ending. The camera returns to the ruins of one last time. The ziggurat stands against the brightening sky. Ancient, silent. Watching. 4,000 years ago, one city rose above the ancient world. It looked eternal beneath the night sky. But beauty is never the whole story. The wind blows softly across the desert. The screen slowly fades toward black, because behind every glowing city, there are workers. There are sacrifices. There are forgotten lives. And there are warnings. Long pause. Look at every city differently after dark. The night never really ended. The sound of modern city traffic slowly fades in. Car engines, distant sirens, neon signs buzzing, footsteps echoing against wet pavement. The darkness slowly reveals a modern skyline at night. Towering skyscrapers glow against the sky. Thousands of windows shine like stars. Cars move endlessly beneath elevated roads. Crowds flow through illuminated streets. The city feels alive, restless, beautiful. The camera slowly glides between modern buildings. Glass towers reflect neon lights. Luxury restaurants remain crowded after midnight. Music echoes from rooftop bars. Street vendors continue working beneath fluorescent signs. Delivery drivers rush through traffic. Janitors clean office buildings long after everyone else has gone home. 4,000 years have passed since but the night still looks familiar. The camera cuts between ancient and the modern city. Torchlight beside neon lights. Mud brick streets beside highways. Temple workers beside office cleaners. Canals beside traffic lanes. Different worlds. Same rhythm. Human civilization changed its appearance, but not its nature. The music becomes slow and reflective. The camera follows a modern worker leaving a tall office building after midnight. His face looks exhausted. He waits alone beside the street for transportation home. Far above him, luxury apartments glow in silence. The camera cuts to ancient laborers carrying bricks beneath the moon. The visual connection feels immediate. Every city depends on invisible people. People who work while others sleep. The camera drifts through modern nightlife districts. Young crowds laugh beneath bright signs. Music shakes the streets. Tourists take photographs beside glowing buildings. The atmosphere feels exciting, almost unreal. But behind the entertainment, security guards stand watch. Street cleaners remove trash. Police patrol crowded areas. Workers carry supplies through back entrances. The machinery of the city never stops moving. Beautiful cities survive because someone sacrifices comfort to keep them alive. The camera cuts back to Ancient workers relight temple fires beneath darkness. Then back to the modern city. A cleaner vacuums an empty office floor at 3 a.m. Again. Ancient canal workers clearing mud. Modern construction workers repairing roads before sunrise. Ancient guards patrolling city walls. Modern security cameras watching intersections. The patterns repeat endlessly across history. The technology changed. The systems changed. But power still depends on labor. The camera slowly rises above the modern skyline. The city stretches endlessly into the darkness. Millions of people living beneath artificial light. The scale feels overwhelming. Then, the camera cuts sharply back to the ruins of beneath moonlight, silent, dead, forgotten. The contrast becomes haunting. Every great city believes it will last forever. The music darkens slightly. The camera returns to modern skyscrapers. Stock markets glow on giant digital screens. Luxury towers rise higher every year. Massive construction cranes dominate the skyline. The world feels unstoppable, just like once did. Ur believed its walls would protect it, its wealth would sustain it, its gods would preserve it. But no civilization escapes time forever. The camera slowly moves through crowded modern streets after midnight. Homeless people sleep beside luxury stores. Food delivery drivers race through traffic. Young office workers stare silently at glowing phone screens. A tired cleaner eats dinner alone in a service hallway. The city remains beautiful from a distance, but close enough. The same old tensions still exist. Wealth beside poverty. Comfort beside exhaustion. Power beside invisibility. The dark side of civilization never truly disappears. The camera cuts between modern nightlife and ancient temple festivals. Crowded clubs, ancient beer houses, luxury rooftops, noble banquets, street performers, temple musicians. Human beings continue searching for escape inside the night. For thousands of years, cities have sold the same dream: light, excitement, opportunity, escape. But beneath every glowing city, there are systems most people never notice. The camera slowly descends into underground maintenance tunnels beneath the modern city. Workers repair electrical systems. Steam rises through pipes. Machines hum endlessly. The hidden infrastructure feels enormous, complicated, fragile. The camera cuts to ancient canal workers beneath The same idea, different technology. Civilization survives only through constant maintenance. If the hidden workers stop, everything stops. The music becomes more emotional. The camera slowly transitions between ancient ruins and modern skylines repeatedly. Ruins, skyscrapers, dust, neon, silence, noise. The visual rhythm becomes hypnotic. Civilizations rise. Civilizations collapse. Again and again and again. The camera slowly returns to the ziggurat of beneath moonlight. The ancient monument still stands after thousands of years. Damaged, broken, but still visible. A ghost of human ambition surviving against time itself. Disappeared, but its story never ended. The camera cuts to modern cities across the world at night. New York, Tokyo, Dubai, Shanghai, London, Manila. Thousands of glowing windows stretch into darkness. Millions of people continue moving beneath artificial light. Every city believing itself modern, permanent, advanced. But history has seen this confidence before. The camera slowly rises higher above Earth at night. Entire continents glow beneath darkness. Human civilization appears as scattered light across the planet. Beautiful, fragile, temporary. The music softens completely. Only distant wind remains. Maybe that is the real lesson of Not that civilizations fall, but that people rarely notice the warning signs while the lights are still glowing. Long pause. The Earth slowly rotates beneath darkness. Cities continue shining. Cars continue moving. People continue working. Civilization continues breathing, just as once did beneath the moon of Mesopotamia. The screen slowly fades toward black. Every city has a dark side. Every civilization leaves shadows behind. And every glowing skyline contains stories most people never see. The wind echoes softly. One final image appears, the ruins of Ur beneath moonlight. Then, a modern skyline beneath neon light. Both images remain side by side, ancient and modern, separated by 4,000 years.